For over 2 decades, Mark Consuelos and Kelly Ripa have been our North Star for a lasting love in Hollywood. They were the couple who made it look not just possible, but joyful, a testament to partnership, family, and a love that seemed to only grow brighter with time. Theirs was a love story we all felt we had a small stake in. But recently, that brilliant, picture-perfect image was shattered by a devastating truth. The man so many admire, the actor, the devoted husband, the fun-loving father, has been fighting a fierce, private battle with cancer. This shocking revelation has rocked their family to its very foundation, a tremor felt by millions who have followed their journey. And the weight of it became unbearably public when Kelly, America's beloved morning sunshine, broke down live on air, her composure crumbling under the weight of a fear no spouse should ever have to face. What series of events led to this heart-stopping discovery? How did Kelly find the superhuman strength to smile for America while her world was falling apart? And what does this mean for the future of one of Hollywood's most adored couples? This isn't just a celebrity news story. This is a raw, human story of heartbreak, resilience, and the kind of fierce, tenacious love that vows to withstand life's most brutal storms. The quiet whispers before the storm. The first signs of trouble didn't come from a tabloid headline or a paparazzi photo. They started in the quiet, intimate spaces of Mark and Kelly's own home. It was in the tiny, almost imperceptible shifts, a persistent fatigue that a good night's sleep couldn't fix, a nagging cough that became the soundtrack to their evenings. To anyone else, they might have been easy to dismiss, but to Kelly, they were blaring alarm bells. Mark, ever the pillar of strength, the rock his family leaned on, did what so many of us do. He brushed it off. "I'm fine," he'd likely say, a mantra of denial so many of us recognize. But a partner's intuition is a powerful, relentless force. It's a deep, cellular knowing that something is wrong. While the world continued to see the same charming, vibrant Mark on their screens, a quiet, terrifying storm was gathering behind their closed doors. And it was a storm about to break with devastating certainty. The word that changes everything. Then came the doctor's appointment that would cleave their lives into a before and after. The moment the word was spoken aloud, cancer, their entire world tilted violently on its axis. Can you imagine that moment? The sterile air of the exam room, the slow-motion feeling as the doctor's words hang in the air. For Kelly, the news felt surreal, impossible. This man, the man she had built her entire adult life with, the father of her children, her best friend, was suddenly in a fight for his very survival. That word, cancer, it carries a weight that takes your breath away. If you've ever heard it in your own life, directed at someone you love, you know it's more than a diagnosis. It's a bomb that detonates right in the center of your universe, shattering every assumption of safety and tomorrow. Kelly later confessed she could barely draw a full breath in that moment. Her mind raced, seeing not just her husband, but the father of her children, her life partner, the person she simply could not imagine a world without. And in the thick of that suffocating disbelief, it was Mark's voice that cut through the fog, a quiet, steady whisper that would become their anchor. "We'll get through this together." The crack in the armor, a public breakdown. Kelly Ripa's job is to be a source of light and energy for millions every single morning. But just days after Mark's diagnosis, as she sat in that familiar chair under the bright, unforgiving lights, the weight became too heavy to carry. Her voice, usually so sure and cheerful, began to tremble. Tears, long held back, welled in her eyes and spilled over. For the first time, the relentlessly poised host could not hold it together. The professional facade crumbled, live for the world to see. She confessed to her audience, her voice thick with emotion, that her family was navigating something very difficult. She didn't share the details, but she didn't have to. Her raw, unfiltered emotion spoke a universal language of love and fear. In that instant, America didn't see a TV star. They saw a wife, a partner, a human being staring down the terrifying possibility of loss. And in her tears, millions saw a reflection of their own vulnerability, their own battles, their own love. The family fortress, finding strength in the unit. Delivering the news to their children, Michael, Lola, and Joaquin, was its own unique heartbreak. How do you explain to your children that their hero, the man who cheers at their games and teases them at the dinner table, is now facing such a formidable enemy? Kelly and Mark made a pact, radical honesty. They gathered their children and told them the truth, without sugarcoating the gravity of the situation. There were tears, there was fear, but there was also a promise, made not just with words, but with the fierce grip of their hands. They would face this as a family. No one would fight alone. Behind the scenes, Kelly became the family's anchor. She learned to save her most gut-wrenching tears for the shower, for the silent, pre-dawn moments when she was truly alone. It's a pain any parent knows intimately, the Herculean strength it takes to be a steady, calming presence for your children when your own heart is shattered into 1,000 pieces. The ICU, a glimpse into the abyss. Then came the night their world nearly collapsed. Mark's health plummeted and he was rushed to the intensive care unit. Kelly would later describe it as a terrifying blur of harsh, fluorescent lights, the frantic sound of running feet, and the urgent, muffled voices of doctors. She sat in a sterile chair, drowning in a sea of tears, her absolute worst nightmare unfolding in real time. The medical team fought relentlessly, and every second stretched into a painful eternity. In those agonizing hours, Kelly prayed with a ferocity she never knew she possessed. She simply was not ready to say goodbye. That cold, stark fear in the ICU was the lowest point of their ordeal. But as the sun began to rise, a single, fragile sliver of hope emerged. Mark was stable. He hadn't won the war, but he had survived a critical battle. Kelly returned to his bedside, gripping his hand, her silent vow echoing in the quiet room. I am not letting you go. It wasn't a miracle cure, but it was a foothold. And in the midst of their darkness, that tiny glimmer of light became their North Star. The new normal, a life redefined. Leaving the ICU wasn't a victory march. It was the beginning of a new, fragile reality. Returning home brought a profound sense of relief, but it was a home now overlaid with the clinical signs of recovery. Their lives, once dictated by TV production schedules, were now governed by treatment appointments and the delicate fluctuations of Mark's energy. Then came the brutal reality of chemotherapy. Kelly watched, her heart aching, as the treatment designed to save him took the toll on the man who had always been her bastion of physical strength. The vibrant energy that defined Mark Consuelos was replaced by a deep, bone-weary fatigue. But his spirit refused to be broken. There would be a flash of his old wit in the middle of a difficult day, a stubborn determination to take a short walk in the garden, a tight, meaningful squeeze of Kelly's hand that screamed, I'm still here, I'm still fighting. And Kelly, meanwhile, began living a double life. In the pre-dawn darkness, she would slip out of the quiet, watchful house and drive to the studio. There, under the bright, unforgiving lights, she would transform back into Kelly Ripa, America's morning sunshine. She cracked jokes, she bantered with co-hosts, she interviewed guests. Her professionalism was a shield, but those closest to her could see a new, profound depth in their eyes, a quiet strength forged in a private fire. The second the cameras clicked off, the smile would gently fall, and she would race back home, her heart forever tethered to the man who was the center of her universe. And through it all, their children transformed. Michael, the eldest, stepped into a protective man-of-the-house role. Lola, with her innate sensitivity, became her father's gentle confidant. And Joaquin, the youngest, became the family's brilliant light. His goofy antics and relentless mission to make his dad laugh served as a powerful antidote to the fear. One evening, not long ago, Kelly looked around their living room. A movie played softly in the background. Mark was dozing in his chair, a blanket pulled up to his chin. Their children were scattered around him, a quiet, protective circle of love. In that single, perfect moment, there was no fame, no diagnosis, no terrifying future. There was only love. An unspoken, unbreakable understanding that they were a unit, a fortress, and that the strength of the whole was infinitely greater than the pain of any one part. This is their story, still being written. It's a story that proves that the most powerful love isn't the one that lives in the highlight reel. It's the one that holds your hand in the ICU, that finds a reason to laugh through the pain, and that